Where else would you rather be than right here, right now, tuning in to Bill's Central Radio?
Buffalo Bills 2013, fresh new faces, EJ Manuel on scene, CJ in front of back, a strong run attack, Stevie Johnson at receiver, makes us all believers, Mario Marcel, our D-line personnel, Bird and Gilmore, there to shut the door, but they need the 12th man, and that's every single fan, so this is a network to listen to the expert, it's BillsMafia, Chris Brown and Dale Reid, week in, week out, satisfaction guaranteed, every time out a new guest on the show, putting on for the fans of Buffalo, no subscription, this is for free, it's Bill's Central Radio on PFC.
Welcome back, Bills fans. We got a special midweek episode of Bills Central Radio for you right now. It's getting busy. It's football season. There's lots to talk about, so occasionally we may have an additional episode during the middle of the week for your benefit. So welcome aboard. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today, Bill?
Good, man. I'm excited. We chatted it up Monday talking about the Bills game the day prior, and we've got another game tomorrow with the Vikings. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I was at Bills camp last night, and it was kind of laid back, getting prepared for the Vikings game, but definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. So we have a special guest today. We have Matt Sabuda on the line. He is a co-founder of PoundFF, and for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter or maybe have just missed my tweets about it, I'm also a co-founder and partner with PoundFF. It's a new fantasy football website that we wanted to introduce to Bills fans because it actually has a game going on right now where, as a Buffalo fan, you can actually participate in the preseason and make preseason games even more interesting. So, Matt, how are you today?
Good. It's great to be on and talking with you guys, especially now that Bill's season is right around the corner.
Yeah, for sure. We got a bunch of questions here, and it's just going to be like a normal conversation. And like I said, we wanted to introduce PoundFF to the Bill Central Radio listeners. So it might sound a little weird if I'm asking you questions that I already know, but you know how it works.
But of course.
Why don't you introduce yourself to Bills fans listening right now, and just real quickly, maybe explain who you are, how you came to be a fan, and just basically your different adventures around the team.
Sure. Well, I've been a Bills fan all my life. Actually, used to work for the team once upon a time in the media relations department. Very, very low on the totem pole over there. But I've always loved certainly following the team, and fortunately, I'm old enough to have lived through some of those glory years of the team, and I look at some young cousins that I have now, and hope that that's not far off again. And this year, a venture that I got involved with, which obviously Del just brought up, and he's involved with as well, is a PoundFF.com fantasy platform. And basically what makes this different for the regular season, and then we'll just get into the preseason game shortly, is it's going to be a no-draft fantasy league. So basically you can play fantasy football against all of Twitter. It's integrated with Twitter. You can pick all simply just the stars across the NFL, but it won't really get you ahead fantasy points-wise. The best comparison we like to make is it's almost like an NCAA bracket, where if you want to really dig deeper and prove your fantasy skills, you're going to have to pick some sleepers, some 12 over 5s, to speak NCAA lingo, I guess, a little bit. And in the preseason right now, what we've launched, and we've actually expanded to a couple more cities in the last couple of days, is called the Preseason GM. And right now, if you go on Twitter, the hashtag is Buffalo Preseason GM, and you can play it at PoundFF.com. And what it is everybody gets the opportunity to set an offensive roster for the Bills. And basically, what ends up happening is at the end of the game, we take their total fantasy score, we divide it by each player's opportunities. So again, tight ends, wide receivers will be targets. running backs, quarterbacks will be attempts, and we come up with what is the opportunity fantasy score. So it sounds simple enough that you could, predict a good roster that is going to score the highest, but quite frankly, it wasn't quite as easy as we thought when we only had one player of almost 100 entrants last week that picked the perfect fantasy roster. Because again, you have to weigh not just fantasy points, but you have to pick the players who are going to make the most of their preseason opportunities, which really is kind of the spirit of preseason in general. So it's made watching preseason definitely a lot more fun, at least for me and those fans that tried week one.
Now, I think one of the most important things we want to stress here is, why don't you tell the listeners how much it costs to play?
It costs nothing to play. This is a completely free game. Again, think of it as just a social media platform for fantasy football. So it's something that as Bills fans, we all love to talk on Twitter and in other media, and this is just another way to do it.
Matt, this is Chris from Pro Football Central. Thanks for joining us today. I greatly appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit. I want to get your take on some of the Bills stuff going around the league as far as the whole team-wise goes. What do you think about the Buffalo Bills so far based on the preseason from what you've seen, and do you like what you've seen so far?
I mean, so far so good in the first preseason game. I think the big thing that's out there that a lot of people are crossing their fingers that they're going to see tomorrow is maybe some successful deep throws from EJ. I was a little disappointed that they decided to start Cobb tomorrow, but again, I think that's probably more just the enthusiasm in me as a Bills fan, and it probably makes sense to play out the quote-unquote QB competition and move EJ along slowly. But you got to love what you see from the receivers. And even with defense, with Alonso, I thought he had a really solid game last week. And I just heard that they're going to keep him out of this week's game. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of depth we have at what I think a lot of people feel is our weakest position at linebacker.
Yeah, you alluded to Kiko there in the previous show. Dell and I were kind of giddy about the play that Alonso made on defense in the end zone there. Our jaws kind of dropped a little bit. We didn't see linebackers moving that fast on a Bills roster in quite some time, so it was good to see him keep up with the coverage for sure.
Also.
Now you had mentioned a couple of the rookies and everything. Of all the rookies that the Bills brought in on their team, whether it be Manuel, Goodwin, Robert Woods, who do you think will shine the most in the upcoming season? And also, do you think as far as the quarterback competition goes, you alluded to, who do you think will be the week one starter?
My gosh, do we have a couple hours for me to talk about that stuff? Or, that is some questions that definitely have me excited. I think week one starter, to get that out of the way, I got to think they're going to go with EJ. As much as they're playing out this competition, unless he just completely falls apart in his opportunities or something happens that they want to be overly cautious, I'll be shocked if he's not the week one starter. As far as the rookies go, and especially in the wide receiving core, I mean, what's not to like? From what we saw, it was almost difficult to really make, at least from a fan's perspective, a really good analysis of these guys because they really all shined pretty brightly. I mean, Woods was great with his opportunities. Goodwin, I mean, how much you even need to say about him based on the plays he made. And even Derrick Rogers, who caught some flack for not being quite focused or anything. I mean, he scored a touchdown. He made the most of his chances last week. And a guy who's not a rookie, and a lot of people seem to love is Chris Hogan. The only thing I'd say about him, my only feedback is maybe this week we'll see it a little bit more. I wish he had a little bit better run after the catch ability. He reminds me so much. And I guess, maybe just the stature and everything, it's easy to make the comparison to a guy like Wes Welker, but he just reminds me of that type of positional player. But in that first preseason game, it seemed like he played it safe a lot, and when he made catches, they were very much catches that he's going down to the ground, and I'd love to see him pick up some additional yards after the play that could really cement a great roster spot for him.
Now, you touched on the wide receivers and how jam-packed it is. as far as the roster goes and the tough decisions that the coaching staff is going to have to make here when they cut the roster down to 75 and then down to the final 53. Now, how many of the wide receivers do you think the Bills end up keeping on the roster? And if you don't mind, which ones do you think will make it?
Sure. I mean, you got my gut tells me they're going to go with 6. I'd be shocked. I mean, not shocked, but I'd be surprised if they went with 7. It's not totally unheard of, but if I had to go with 6, I mean, it's going to be, certainly Stevie Johnson, Robert Woods. You got to go Goodwin. Beyond that is where it starts to get, I think, a little. I mean, Brad Smith may even be. I wouldn't be surprised even with the restructure to see him not make it all the way to the final roster. So if you had to add 3 more after Woods, Goodwin, and Johnson, it's wide open, I guess. But I think they seem to be really high on Rodgers and his athletic ability, despite some of the negative things we've heard about in camp. And again, I like Chris Hogan, so I'd like to see him prove it and stick around. But I'd have to go with those guys. Easley is somebody who looked decent in, I thought, the first game, but I don't know, something about him. I just feel like he's this might be the season he's not going to make it all the way through.
All right, so back to the PoundFF bit really quickly here. We've talked about the preseason. What are the plans for the regular season?
The plans for the regular season over at PoundFF is we plan on incorporating a couple of unique fantasy games. I mean, right now everybody is probably pretty entrenched in their fantasy leagues, and there may not be an open niche in the market for that. But what we intend on filling is, again, that open, no draft, all players open to everyone, social media-oriented fantasy platform where you could play against essentially all of the internet. You can have week-to-week challenges. You can have challenges where you can go up against, your office, anything along those lines. Another interesting concept that we're testing out right now and we're hoping to roll out in the regular season is a different type of dynasty fantasy game, and not the one you're thinking of, but what we've looked at is, wouldn't it be interesting to compare some of the greatest seasons of some of the all-time teams of the past, like the 93 offensive Bills, some of those early 90s Cowboys teams, the late 80s 49ers teams. And what we looked at is if we set a trio of those all-time teams from week to week, that we could let people from modern day kind of pull another team that they think might beat those stats, because as much as the times were different, those are some pretty unbeatable stats. So basically how it would go was you could potentially pick Jim Kelly, Thurman, and Andre, and those would be set as far as the top players for that week. Well, you would have to pick a trio from a modern day team. You couldn't pick, just the best fantasy players, but if you wanted to go with Brady, you'd have to go with his running back and receiver to see how each week a potential modern-day team might stack up against one of those all-time greats, and we think that's something that might translate well in other markets and could be a lot of fun.
So, wrapping this whole thing up here, we've talked about, the fantasy, and we've talked about, the Bills in general. How do you see the Bills finishing up 2013? And if I had to nail you down to a record, and don't take it personal, we do this with a lot of the guests, but if I had to nail you down to a record, where are you going with it?
Well, my heart always says 16-0, but my brain, I think, is going to say, oh, geez. I think my brain is, and it's probably a little bit of my heart, but I'm going to go 8-8. And I feel like that's optimistic, but I just, I got to think that if EJ, it all hinges, and not saying anything we don't know, but it all hinges on EJ, and if he can be the quarterback we all think he is, who knows? Sky's the limit. But I'm going to go 8-8.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I refuse to commit to a losing record or a winning record, so I cop out and I say 8-8 as well. Just because there's too many balls in the air, too many variables right now, too many unknowns. But so 8-8, no question. Nobody can give you a hard time.
That's a good baby steps number for them. That would really show some progress with their picks. So
for sure. All right, Matt, tell us again real quickly, how can people find you on Twitter, and tell us a little bit just about how to get hooked up with PoundFF.
You can follow me on Twitter, which is @MattSabuda, but more importantly, follow @PoundFF, and you can go to www.poundff.com and play the Buffalo preseason GM game. We have one in Pittsburgh, and as of today, we're launching one in Green Bay. We've got some fan leaders in each of those markets that are taking the lead and spreading the word over there.
Great. Matt, thanks so much for taking the time. And stick around. We're going to have BillsMafia co-founder Breyon Harris up after the break.
Hi, this is Dominique Ellis of the Buffalo Bills. You're now listening to Bill's Central Radio Show, the best radio show on the planet.
Okay, I'm on the line here with Breyon Harris, Bree_88 on Twitter. If you're not following him already, I don't know what your problem is. You got to throw him a follow. He is one of the co-founders of the BillsMafia movement with myself and with Leslie N94. Bree, how are you today?
Doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. All right, we're just going to take a couple minutes here and talk about this past Sunday's preseason game against the Indianapolis Colts. Let's just jump right into it, man. What is your number one takeaway from this past game?
I guess I want to say the speed of the game, defense, offense, special teams. It's just, I think it feels like it's a little faster than what we've been accustomed to the past couple of years.
Yeah, no doubt. Tell me about it. That was insane. Talk about an upgrade on both sides of the ball. So we got our shiny new toy, E.J. Manuel. Well, I'm not going to say we were lucky because, I feel a little bit bad saying that to Kevin Cobb, but we were lucky enough to have a whole first half completely devoted to this new franchise quarterback. What did you think about E.J.'s game?
Well, obviously he's a rookie. It was his first start. He looked. He didn't look all that great early on, but I mean that 2-minute drill, that was something amazing.
Yeah, I loved it that towards the end of the second or the end of the first half, we had the opportunity for him to actually showcase his wares a little bit. A little bit of hope for maybe fans who got a little nervous at the outset. It's like, it's okay. I was worth the pick. Just give me time.
Right.
All right. How about let's flip it over. Are you Team Tool? Are you all for giving this guy a shot at? I can't even say it with a straight face. Okay. What do you think about Just Tool, man?
I mean, he's a rookie as well, but I think he has guts. Like he just throws it up there and makes let his playmakers make plays. I think if E.J. Manuel learns to do that, then he'd probably be the best quarterback. I wouldn't say in the game, but best quarterback we have in a long time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, I wasn't dogging Tool there. It's just I've seen some comments on Twitter where fans are they're used to having the scrappy underdog quarterback, and they're saying, this guy's got to have a shot to start. I don't know, I try to be patient with everybody, so.
You got to, man, especially with Bills fans. You gotta learn to have patience.
Yeah, most definitely. So, all right, so we talked about the speed. We talked about the two quarterbacks. What about the defense, man? Give me some thoughts that you have on this new-look defense the Bills have.
I mean, anything's better than a Dave Wanstead-based defense, but I think I saw them moving Mario around. I saw Mario taking charge of the defense. It was one play in particular. I don't think he ever did this last year, but the defensive line, they were lining up Ron. They didn't shift over, and he was getting mad and telling them to come on over, shift over. And he got upset because they didn't shift over. I'm talking about this is just preseason game. It might have been the first or second series, and he's taking on like leadership qualities and taking control of the defense. They're moving him around. He got a sack. He lined him up everywhere, and then that play by Kiko on Coley Flinner in the end zone where he punched the ball out at the last second. I think that was a great play by the rookie.
That was crazy. I don't think Kiko got the memo that Bills linebackers aren't supposed to do that. So
they're not supposed to know how to cover.
Yeah, especially the tight end, man. Oh my gosh,
Right.
I jumped off of my couch when that happened. That was all too pleasant to finally see. I think we all deserved that.
Right.
Okay, so that's the defense. What about the coaches, man? Give me your impressions. We haven't had a chance to really talk, even a whole lot, except for on Twitter and stuff. Mm-hmm. We haven't had a whole opportunity to talk too much through the mini camps or the preseason. Give me your thoughts on Marone, Hackett, Patton, all those guys.
I mean, I think as far as as Bills fans go, we get overexcited and stuff about a preseason game. We got to remember this is the first preseason game, but I think that our guys was very prepared and for the game and everything. I don't want to get overexcited, blah blah blah, but I think as far as preparation was concerned, I think our guys was very well prepared.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Even like you mentioned a few moments ago with Mario Williams, It was great to see him take charge and actually yelling at Darius. So Williams is often criticized for being a little too passive in all areas of life. So to see him actually doing that means the game plan was instilled in his head. The scheme is instilled in his head, and he knows exactly what he's supposed to be doing and what his other teammates are supposed to be doing as well, and he's actually acting on that.
Exactly.
Okay, so next game up is the Minnesota Vikings for the Kids' Day on Friday. Give me some thoughts. Any ideas? I mean, I know it's a preseason game and, whatever, but what are you looking for going into this Friday's game?
Obviously for E.J. Manuel to build upon that 2-minute drive that he had right before halftime. It was his last drive. I think he saved his best for last, but I think he should build upon that. Maybe he gets a little confident. I don't want him to use C.J. Spiller as much as they did last week. He popped off 2 runs of 15, 17 yards. I would have took him out of the game. But I saw on Twitter earlier this week where somebody compared last year's Vikings where they just kept handing it off to Adrian and let Christian Ponder do, very little. I think that should be the way we should work out our season this year. We keep feeding our running backs the ball and let E.J. Manuel do just, the bare minimum, not the bare minimum, but enough to win. And let our defense, control the game.
Yeah, that would be a perfect scenario, wouldn't it? To just have just string the quarterback along so he just gets a little bit of confidence every week, a little bit more, and then let him break out when he's ready to.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to spring a question on you here real quick. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you at the outset, but who is your surprise contributor on the offense and the defense? And we'll wrap it up with this question. For 2013 overall, who do you think is going to be, if the Bills award a team MVP on both sides of the ball? Who are you expecting to really make the most noise this year?
I think on offense, maybe a Goodwin. He has talent, he has speed. I would say Stevie and Spiller, but they're already. I don't think they can break out. They already have their breakout seasons, I guess.
Right.
On defense, I really think this might be Mario's year. Last time he was in a 3-4, played 5 games, had 5 sacks, and he was gone for a year. This was with the Texans this last year. So I think them moving Mario around, I think he's going to have 15, 17 sacks this year. He might be Defensive Player of the Year this year.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? That's what we signed him for, right? That's why we backed up the Brinks truck.
That's why we backed up the Banks truck and we backed up the mini fridge truck.
That's right. So, all right. Any questions for me really quick as we end it here?
No, Dale, I think last thing I got to say to you is don't wait so long to have a conversation with me.
That is 100% correct, man. We got to talk more often. Bree, thanks a lot for joining Bills Central Radio today. Appreciate you taking the time. Have a good one.
No problem. So you too.
Thanks for tuning in to Bills Central Radio. For Bills news, updates, stats, highlights, and more, log on to ProFootballCentral.com.
Shout, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, touchdown, rain, sleet, or snow, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, defense, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, touchdown, rain, sleet, or snow, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, let's go Buffalo, defense, rain, sleet, or snow. Okay, new vibe, new feel, new coach, new Bills, red, white, blue steel, hard work, true skill. This year's on you, Spill. LDM, I'm predicting that. Touchdown, Stevie Johnson, swag cooking.